We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll just remind everybody tonight to try to get their mic as close as possible to you so that everybody can hear it online and in the audience. Minutes from the last meeting. Any additions or changes? And then if not, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Moved by Nicole, seconded by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Presentation of the bills. The one bill for forklifts, that one we just take it out of 601 instead of all of the accounts or water account
Where is the forklift?
at the water treatment.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought.
Correct.
601.
601. With that, do I have a motion to approve the bills?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Mike, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Dave. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Disconnects? I know, so there was some question whether you have the answer or not. For example, go to page 3. There's 141, 142, and 143. If you look at those, they're all the second one late, but if you go to the last page, only 142 is on the disconnect. And there was some other ones that I know that.
Okay, yeah, I'll make a note and ask Julie.
And then if you just email what the finding was.
Yep.
Motion to approve the disconnects.
Moved by Mike, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Paul. Any further discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Yes for me. Motion carries. Nicole, we'll start with you for commission report.
I have nothing to report for the water, sewer, or airport. However, I don't see him here. So, received an email about the Anchor Ingredients and the dust over here again. And they had said and shown some pictures about that there's still dust issues and dust on the truck that's parked down at Reamer's down there. I don't know what the answer to that is, because I'm not exactly sure. I did drive by, did notice that there was some dust over the hood of the buildings and stuff like that, over the top of the snow, so I'm assuming there still is dust, but I don't know if it's traveling over there, or I don't know what we can do about that.
Well, when I drove by and looked at it, I've seen that there was dust issues, like you said, but it didn't look like it was a large amount more than
The
any
usual.
other elevator that would travel past. I guess we need to find out from them what their expectations are, would be my thought on that, because I'm not sure what they're expecting. Are expecting no dust? I don't think that's a reality. That
Did they get their equipment put
they
in?
got their equipment in, and they also said that it's probably not necessarily the building that was causing the issue. It could be the when they're loading train cars, which they were trying to do at different times, so that they didn't have issues with it.
Okay.
Well, I went by there one day and they were loading a semi and their auger was way high above the semi. I just, back of my mind, I thought, well, can't you drop that thing down a little bit? And, so it's, but this is my opinion.
Right, but if it sounds like it's coming from this side of the building, so is it when they're loading cars, or, we're not sure. I'm still working with them, trying to get it figured out, so. I hadn't heard anything, that anybody had anything issues, and I know he was gone the last couple of weeks, so I haven't had time to reach out to him, but, I'll check back in with him and we'll see what we can do, but if we hear from them, I think we should find out what is their expectation.
Sounds good. And that is everything from my end.
Paul, do you have anything tonight?
Just at HEDC meeting has been set for January 23rd at 5:30, and of course anybody is welcome to that. Beautification, we met, and I'm sure that you'll have some input also, but one thing that I do want to mention to the public, or anybody that's out there, that if we do take any steps, we did that mural, where they voted on. If we do anything with that, we're looking for somebody to take the lead on that. Somebody that might be their passion, maybe they like art. It's something that we want them to do the legwork to find out, okay, what's the process of doing this, and how much it's going to cost, and who can do it. So that's what we're kind of looking for on that. So if there is somebody out there that's interested in that, we would like to know that. On the electrical side, we got a lot of things going on, just mainly in the discussion areas right now as far as maintenance, and just a lot of different items going on, but really don't have any conclusions on anything quite yet. We're still working on different options. So when we do come to a conclusion on them, we'll let you know. And that's all I have.
Okay. Mike, do you have anything?
Nothing tonight.
Dave?
Yeah, I got a couple things. Down at the recycling, I've been noticing, I've been down there a couple times and noticed that down behind the armory that some of the dumpsters are completely full of non-crushed boxes. One dumpster was pretty much full of, I just want to remind them of, when you bring your cardboard down there to crush it down, so we're not, we're making room for everybody else's stuff. Fire department would like to thank the city crew for taking care of their lot up there and getting rid of the pile. They told me the other night at the meeting they wanted me to express gratitude for taking care of that. It's pretty important to keep those doors open. And also, I'd like to thank the city crew for starting to clean out some of the fire hydrants. That's really important in town. If we don't have water access, I mean, we've got 4,000 gallons of water sitting in trucks, but when that runs dry, it's pretty important. And I think the fire department was kind of wondering if you have a fire hydrant on your corner, if you could kind of maybe adopt it a little bit and at least get the top part of it opened up, so so the connections are showing. You don't have to dig it all the way down to the grassland, but as long as the head of it is open, they would really appreciate it. And other than that, that's all I have for tonight.
You said you had an opportunity to follow up on the snow question that they were asking about plowing the streets and clearing intersections more, or did you, as far as you said you had a conversation with Jim about that they were gonna look
Oh,
into?
yeah.
They were gonna, some people had questions about not being able to get across certain intersections.
And Jim, you can get in on this too if you like. Yeah, I talked to Jim, and it's they're going to do their best. They're going to try and get them open. It does slow the process down, of course.
Right, it's a double-edged sword. You want your intersection clean, but it's going to slow up the other processes. So it's, as long as people are understanding that you do the one, you give up something in other areas. So
Right, correct. Yeah, they'll do the best they can. And when we had storm like the last one we had,
and that's kind of the exception. So.
Yeah, but I feel they're doing the best that they can do.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for following up on that.
Yep, thanks, Paul. And that's all I have, Levi.
Okay. All right. Beautification, kind of like Paul said, we did meet, and we still need one more person that would like to be on that commission. Financials, Ashley is getting closer on those. I would like an approval to transfer from 455, which is our Riverwalk fund, to the following accounts to true them up. $41,540 and $41,540 to 100. That would be for Onstead Twitchell bills previous to the start of that fund. $13,708.92 to 201, which is mostly AE2S and engineering fees that were done at that point. $15,102 and 43 cents to 601. Same thing, AE2S fees that were done on that project. $14,237.91 to 602, which would be same thing. And then the last one is $7,832.09 to 604, which would be some A2S, but then also some electrical things that didn't get transferred over.
So it's all on,
It's all coming out of Riverwalk.
what was the amount on the very first one to 100?
$41,540. You can have that. And that is transferring from 455 to those particular accounts. I just need a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion.
Dave makes the motion. Is there a second?
second,
Seconded by Mike. Is there any discussion? Mike?
yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And a yes for me. And that should, with that should get us closer to being finalized at a number for Riverwalks. We can start that proceeding. But we are looking at, there is a small deficit overall in the project. Electrical came in a little bit lower than, higher but lower than the estimate was. So, I got a message from Steve today, and I followed up with a phone call on the I-29 bridge project. The DOT is requesting a inspection for a Class 1 cultural survey for the project, which means They need to check and make sure that there's no issues with that to any historic events or anything of that nature. Steve said they've used Wade Burns, gave an estimate of $1,200, and that's the person that they've used quite a bit in the past. And so he's just looking for approval for that.
I'll make the motion. It's very important to do
Who
that.
makes the motion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mike. Any other discussion?
It was 1,200, they thought, about $1,200, you said?
1,200 is, yep. He said it quoted a maximum of 1,200, so.
And hope they don't find anything.
Right. Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. Let's see, I had one other thing. I did reach out on the Armory, and they weren't able to come up with a time yet, so we're still working on that contract. And hopefully I'll know more by the first of the meeting of next month. Jim, do you have anything tonight?
Just one item. Received a call from Mark Cadet at Allegiant in reference to the load control installation. He said things were going real well. They have about a third of them in, and they've run into a wall. Basically, nobody's calling in, nobody's setting up appointments. They're looking for some type of guidance on any ideas or that we might have to get things going again. He talked about another mailing they could do. I thought maybe it's time that the city of Hillsboro sends out a mailing with some type of letter. We need maybe to have more out on the website, social media, that type of thing. So I just wanted to run it by you and see if anybody has any suggestions on.
I set mine up quite a while ago and nobody's ever called me back.
Okay.
No, I don't know what's.
Rick, do you have a question?
I don't have a question, but what Jim was speaking to about, they were at my place right away, and we made an appointment. And they come, and they said, well, I think it was because we had 2 meters, and they would get a hold of somebody, and then they'd be back. And to my knowledge, my wife's been home, and they never, usually said they had to shut the power off for like half an hour or so, right? Nobody's ever come back. And that was right away, excuse me, we sent it in, so they were there just when this thing was starting, and we haven't heard boo from anybody
So
since.
he actually did show up?
Yeah, but then nobody come back.
You might have, do you actually have an old receiver in you probably don't have an old receiver? But what year was your house built?
04.
There should have been one in there, but that's about the time that the other systems started going down, and we haven't done any installations since then. So any of the new homes won't have it. What they've done is they've scheduled, I think, a half hour, 45 minutes per house.
Yeah.
They just, usually they won't have to shut off the water heater to do it. If it's anything more than that, if you don't have one, or if they've done some type of remodeling or installation where it's going to take him longer than that, then they are making a list of those, and they'll come back, and we'll have to get a plan for those and reschedule all of those. So that could be an issue. I asked him for a list of residents that it has been installed in, And he said a lot of the letters have been returned from the post office undelivered. So he could put those on the list also, but, yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't come back.
It only does take about 15 minutes.
Yeah,
So we had ours
if it
done.
goes good, yeah.
I forgot all about it. I called them the week of Christmas. They set up a date like the 4th of January. He called 15 minutes before he got there. It took him maybe 10 minutes, and he was out the door and thanked me very much.
Good,
So
good,
I don't understand if you've contacted him. I'm sure
yeah.
it's taken care of, but
He's down, he said they're down to scheduling 1 day a week every 2 to 3 weeks. So, it's come to that, so I don't know what we want to do going forward. I thought I would, if Cole would like to, I could maybe do a short interview, get something in the paper explaining more what they are, and that we need people to come forward and get this thing rolling and get it installed. But I don't know, as far as a mailing, what we need to do, or if we need to start reaching out, you know. I'm assuming some of the letters, when they get them, they look at their logo on there and they throw it away. I don't know, there's some people that just probably don't open their mail, so.
I'm not sure, just, he wasn't home when he came. Phyllis told me that it was something to do, I thought it was something to do with 2 meters or something. Does that make sense?
Or you have a load control system? Do you have,
Yeah.
are you an off-peak?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and to my knowledge, he hasn't been back.
What they're trying to do is a mass install, get, like chucks. Get all those ones that are easy, get them in, get it out, and get those, and then come back and start dealing with maybe some of the off-peak stuff, some of the new installs, all the new houses, but that's what they wanted to just get to a mass install right away, and they were hoping for 60-70%. So, I don't know if anybody has any suggestions on.
Well, and or they may just have to start calling.
Right. Yeah, or we start calling. I talked to Paul about it. He suggested maybe we have a list at City Hall at quiet times, maybe, I don't know, start calling people. I guess Mark suggested doing positive things first, and then, I don't know what you do, start going door to door and knocking, and then there is a in our electric policy, there is a requirement for that, and there is a fee if you don't have a hookup. If I remember right, it was $50 a month, and I guess worst case scenario, you start implementing that fee. So,
I think I've got a few things too from Missouri River that kind of explain that a little bit too. If I can find them, maybe I can share them. That's something they can put out on social media that might help explain it. And I think we definitely have to start pushing some information out there. And I think the idea about, if Cole's willing to do it, I think the idea about putting it in the paper and explaining it to people, I think would be very helpful.
explain a little bit what it is, what we need, why we need it, and that it's painless. I mean, it's,
It is quick. But from my understanding, not every household needs them, right?
if you have an electric water heater
Yeah.
and/or off-peak heat,
But like geothermal.
geothermal or gas, I
systems.
know a lot of the homes are being converted over to
Yeah.
total gas, then no,
Yeah, so
there's nothing in there.
it might be nice to kind of explain who's in that bracket, who's not, like what exclusions there are for
Sure,
that.
okay,
Maybe that's why phone calls aren't coming in, I don't know.
yeah.
And there was something I shared with Sarah and Paul that Barnesville, I think, was a pretty easy mailing informational sheet. Maybe we can steal that. Sarah has it, I believe. We could look at it. So
Okay.
I think that's kind of the next step, is to call and start working that way.
Okay, but I'll tell you, I'll get hold of, I told Mark I'd contact him tomorrow, and hopefully he has a list ready, and I'll get that out to everybody. You can see who's on there.
And we all can work at talking to people.
Yeah, and that's good too. I mean, I have family members too that I need to, so everything else.
Once we see it, you know, we all run in different circles, so we might hit a good chunk of them.
That's all I have.
JR, do you have anything for tonight?
Nothing from me.
Did we, and maybe I'm just forgetting, did we talk about the liquor for Hillsboro Days yet?
Mm-mm.
Do we have anything close on that?
Yep, I sent it in 4 weeks ago now, 5 weeks.
You sent it to everybody for,
I thought I sent it to every commissioner too.
I
so-
thought so, yeah.
Did it get missed on the agenda? Is that why we're?
You didn't go on the agenda.
We didn't have it on the agenda because we were talking budget numbers, but I did send it out.
Yeah, no, that makes
For the
sense.
year.
So let's make sure we get that on for next week, for the next meeting.
12/16/22. Dead on a month.
I thought so, but
That's
I
why
couldn't
it's the big
remember.
bucks.
All right, Ashley? Or do we just have to say, Sarah, please make sure that that is on the agenda for next meeting, as she remembers the recording, or listens.
Right. Well, she's probably watching too, so, okay. You already covered Steve's thing. Like Levi said, I'm caught up on the, bank reconciliations all the way up through the end of 2022, so we're on track for that. One thing that I found in November is, I need to amend the AP for the end of month of November because, the numbers when they got pulled over for the electronic payroll or the EFT payrolls, those were not, when Sarah copied the sheet over, she forgot to change the amounts, and so those amounts were actually incorrect on 12/5 of 22. It would be in those minutes, so I just need to amend that. So the amount that was approved for end of month of November was $63,016.45, and the actual amount that should have been approved was $64,169.64. So the correct AP is actually $1,153.19 more than what was approved, so I just need that, an amendment for that to update that in the meeting minutes for December 5th. And then also the November 7th meeting minutes. There was a payment for Chase Morgan that got paid twice. That has to come off because it was in two separate spots where we account for it. And then there was the payment service network for October fees was missed, and that had to get added in of $406.85. And so the incorrect amount that was approved on 11/7 was actually $421,134.95, and it was actually should have been $416,179.35. So the correct AP is actually $4,955.60 less than what was approved. So I just need approval to amend those two meeting minutes, so that we can post them in the correct totals in the correct months of minutes.
Do I have a motion to amend the November minutes first?
So moved.
Paul, is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Discussion? Nicole?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And a yes for me. And then a second motion for the December minute changes.
December minute changes.
December 5th.
Yep,
December
December
5th.
5th. Yep.
I'll make the motion.
Dave makes a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Nicole. Discussion? Mike?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. Anything else, Ashley?
Just to finish up on the financials, Mark and I have been working together and came up with a quicker way to get the totals for the fund balances reconciled. And so I just started April of 2022 for those. So we found a little bit quicker way, and then once we get them all caught up, then we can go back to the line by line. That's all I got.
Okay, and the Sheriff's Department report should be in your packet for December. On the beautification side, the ticket numbers, there is no big major changes. Besides that, ticket number 2021-004, I was at court on the 11th, and she has decided to go to a bench trial. That trial date is set for April 12th at 11 o'clock. She does not have a public defender in that case because it is not criminal. She can hire her own attorney. And I'll check with Charlie as we move forward, and I'm sure JR and we'll reach out if we have anything else. Any questions on that? I'm too close?
Yeah. Talking way too close to my.
Sorry. Let's see. That's it on those. All right. Old business. Ashley, do you have any updates on the FEMA?
Nope. I know he's working on some bigger ones, and he has canceled our weekly meetings the last 3 weeks. So I'm gonna reach out to him tomorrow morning to see where we're at, because I know it's either this month or next month that our case should be closing. So I'll reach out to him tomorrow.
Okay. New business, we have a raffle for HCD baseball and softball programs. A motion for that to approve. They were in your packet.
I'll make the motion.
Dave makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And a yes for me. We have 2 liquor transfers for Tap That, one on February 4th and one on February 11th. Need a motion to approve those.
Make a motion.
Moved by Nicole. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dave. Any other discussion?
Is there any reason they're not filled out completely? Don't need all that information, or? Well, there's questions on them forms and they don't answer them, all of them. Might not be very important, but I'm just curious as if that's the norm.
They just fill out the bare minimum usually.
Looks like they were notarized. You're talking like number 7 or 9 and stuff?
Yeah, I can pull it up here and see. Just where you have lines and there's nothing filled in, whether it be a phone number or, just basic things. It'll give legal description of location of the premises,
Well, they wouldn't know that. They have to look online.
phone number of premises.
Well, the Armory doesn't have one. It would be, I mean, the only phone at the is the daycare, but they're not even gonna be
There
there.
is a phone there.
Well, there is, but it's for emergency purposes only, and I was told it was broken off the wall.
Well, then we need to cut off the line because we pay for it.
Right. I think it needs to be fixed because it's for emergency purposes, I think. Is what Julie and I just discussed this last week, so I just haven't had a chance to talk to Mike.
And where is that phone?
I guess in the hallway, I don't know, I've never seen.
Oh, is it?
I don't know what part of the building will be used for alcohol beverage.
I don't think it's been the norm, Paul. Not saying that it's right or wrong.
Well, I'm just asking because if, unless it's just a generic form,
I'm thinking
you'd think that you'd want, somebody asked the question at some point, so.
well, I was looking at number 7. 7 is kind of a redundant question to the drawing.
Yeah.
Like I said, the phone number of the premises doesn't really, I guess it could be maybe the phone, like cell phone of the bar that's doing it, or somebody for the wedding party, I guess, I'm not sure.
And on the next one, you got a blank line that says, after being first sworn to oath, answers the following questions. I suppose you're not being sworn to oath, but
For where?
the next one down from the one you were just at. For State of North Dakota County Trail. Looks like it's probably the last page.
Are you talking about where Julie
Yep.
notarizes it?
Mm-hmm.
She has to watch them sign it. That's all signed.
Well, I'm just wondering what that line is for.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, a notary has to sign it, so Julie, but nobody.
Well, I'm just wondering what the line on top is for, so, but
Which line?
on the top of the page, there's a big line right underneath trail.
I'd imagine Tony's name would be in there.
Right, well,
Oh,
But it's not.
it's
Yeah.
splitting hairs, I'm not gonna say that, but what I'm saying
Would
is,
that be Tony? That would,
I would assume so, yeah. So,
I would assume whoever is there.
I guess I had never paid that close attention to the forms.
well, how come?
Because they just get handed in, I suppose, and it's
Well,
just,
down here in the fine print, it says Ashley's wages for the month of June.
very funny.
The key to this is that.
That's why when I get all the paperwork, I always says, how many of my kids you getting on this?
Right.
If I don't read it before I sign it.
The key there is we'll just make sure that you guys are double checking everything.
Yeah.
With that, do we have a motion to approve the 2 liquor transfers?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Bright Rose, is there a second?
Didn't Nicole and Dave
Yeah,
already
that-
do that?
yeah,
We're
sorry.
on voting.
Sorry.
I was gonna say something, but Ashley beat me to
I
it.
Well,
got
I have it written down, so I was like, wait a minute.
all those or Dave,
yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Nicole.
Yes.
Motion carries.
You're not gonna vote?
Any yes for me? Motion carries.
Check.
It's been a long day.
Yep.
All right, next item is the commission raises. If we are changing that, we had 2 proposals that we had looked at. Let me pull this up. If we're going to change, it would be by resolution. Somebody added a lot of sheets into our spreadsheet.
I don't know what happened, I noticed that too. That's why I made a copy and saved it to my desktop.
No, but I'm trying to find the wages.
I'm thinking they thought they were scrolling over and accidentally added, and it may have been me. I don't know.
All right, initially we had proposed we would get rid of the insurance and go up the 225 or 250% each one. The last one that was proposed was 4,800 for commissioners and then 6,600 for the commission president with no insurance benefits. And that would be an equal pay, just distributed amongst. There would be no change in the amount that we had spent for salaries. I know it's hard voting, we're talking about your own salary.
Well, I think it's a fair way to do it, you know.
It is also fairly comparable to what the League of Cities has for other commissions across compared to the amount of meetings that we have. And then the other change was, the request was asked if we could be paid monthly instead of biannually. So, if you choose to do those things, we would have to have a resolution that said that this is what we're changing them to.
I'm going to make the motion that we go with the resolution.
The resolution for the 66 and the 48.
Correct.
Is that the first or second one?
I believe
Second
it's the
one.
second one.
And paid monthly.
And paid monthly.
Is there a second? Not everybody at once.
It's a tough decision, I agree, you know.
Hopefully this will help as we are looking for commissioners. I know some don't always know that you do get paid some. Bueller.
I'm going to second it.
So moved by Dave, seconded by Mike. Is there any other discussion? Nicole?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Paul? No. Any yes for me? Motion carries. I probably should have done it old business now that I remembered it, but so when JR was looking at the rates for the sewer, we just need to clarify a few things and see if we want to keep it the same or change it. Originally, I thought we were under the assumption it was we are charging 1 cent per 100 cubic feet for sewer, but it was 1 cent per cubic foot over 900 cubic feet.
Right.
With the difference being that we didn't charge if it was 900 cubic feet or less. The way that we stated the motion now, we're actually changing it to a half cent per cubic foot, but it starts from the beginning. Do we want to keep it that way or change it?
What's the difference in it, or what does it amount to?
I actually can't tell you a whole lot what the difference is, because without knowing each water usage data, it was hard to figure it out.
Now I didn't write it down, so I don't have it here. I'd have to refigure it out, but I know when Julie, Sarah, and I first started looking at it and noticed an issue, I think it was, I don't remember the scenario or whose property we used, but it would have been like $4. I'm looking to see if Sarah can remember. It was like, one of them was like a $4 charge on a bill, per bill, but it also depends like how, different people use different amount. So, and the sewer is the same as the water, like it gets charged the same. That's just how our system is built. So it could get spendy for people depending on how much they use. But like I said, I didn't write it down. We were just throwing numbers out when we were looking at it, so we can look at it further tomorrow and try to actually put some numbers on paper and send them to you guys.
Overall, if you looked at the total water numbers on the sewer, that billing would generate $6,000, $7,000, so it's not a high revenue generating thing. The difference is that currently if my water usage was at 900 cubic feet, I wouldn't pay more than the base rate, which is $950.
$750, isn't it?
Is it
For
seven?
sewer water.
We went up to $950.
Oh, 9, okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at the old ordinance.
Yep. With the new rate, you would be charged
$450,
another $450, yep,
another $450.
additional $450. So the difference is before, not everybody was paying for
Up to 900.
that usage, now we are charging that usage. Even though it is a lower rate, but most people were not paying because most families probably didn't see it before on the usage. The more water you use, the more you would end up paying. So yes, it is a decrease, but it also is an increase.
So this is separate than the last change in the sewer rates we had last meeting?
No,
Or what is this part?
just saying that it is a little different than we had originally thought it was. I just want to make sure that you're okay with the change. I don't think the change is going to affect us financially because it's not a big generation thing, what it's going to affect is everybody in the community will see a raise, where before when we raised that rate, not everybody would see it because not everybody got charged on their water usage. If you use less than 900 cubic feet, which is 900 times 7 would be 2,700 gallons. If you use less than 2,700 gallons a month, it's more than that, but 30.
So the charge is basically meant for everybody across the board
Correct.
instead of those who had less than 2,700 gallons a month, they didn't pay. Do I get that correct?
Correct. Sorry.
They
Not
paid the
27.
base fee.
They paid the base fee, but if you use less than 7,000 gallons,
Yeah, that's,
sorry, I was off. If you use less than 7,000 gallons, you didn't pay for water usage, where now you would be paying for water usage.
Hmm.
excuse me, sewer usage.
Water and sewer are charged the same. So it's both.
Yeah. The same rate, but not,
They go in, the reading goes in there exactly the same.
right, but they subtract, on the sewer side, it's minus the 900, and then whatever's left is what you pay now.
Now,
Where, in the way that we move forward, which would start this month, it would be exactly the same. So everybody would see 0.05 per cubic foot.
now is that for all different, because we have different sewer, it's not just one sewer rate in the system, so you want every single category, because there's like sewer 1, sewer 2, commercial sewer, there's a whole list of different, so you want each one to go up 0.5? That was another thing that Julie,
If that's what we're currently charging.
okay.
So my question is for those that were not getting charged on less than 7,000 gallons, if I were to use, 5,000 gallons, I'm only charged on that 5,000 gallons?
You weren't
Correct.
charged anything.
Right, but moving forward, I would be?
Yes.
On that usage though, not,
Right. Because I assume all those different rates are the same?
I should have grabbed the sheet. I don't think,
Because
have
I'm
to
basing it
look.
off what's in our ordinance, so if we're charging different than what's in our ordinance, then the commission needs to know those differences.
I'd have to
Yeah,
look at
I'm
that
asking
ordinance
Sarah.
again to see. I thought that was the only sewer charge I saw in there. but
Right, it was a rate, was 900 over, and then
that
the
was
base
only one I
rate.
saw,
okay,
but
Sarah said yes, they are, because her and Julie were working on it the other day. So they are, but there's just a multiple categories that they'll have to change.
okay. In Sarah we trust.
And yes,
And then please make sure they're double checked
Yep.
after they get done. Are we okay with that change? Okay. All right, is there anything else for the good of the order from the commission? And Chuck?
Yes, I gotta thank the commission for getting their insurance salaries straight. Everybody should be treated equal, and I think at this point it is. And if you put a pencil to it, it's about the same amount of dollars as before. The only thing is taken care of. A couple questions I had though. Ashley, do we pay Chase Morgan monthly?
yeah, because it's our credit card company, the new credit card that we switched to.
So
And-
how do we pay him twice a month?
So when Julie, it was in the month that Julie was out on medical leave, and so Sarah was filling in for her, so she had a lot on her plate and trying to make sure everything got done. And it's just something that got double put in. So it got put in on the AP, and then it also got put on what we call the check ledger. And so that's how it got doubled up, and I caught it when I went through the recon, and we just removed it, and that's why I needed amendment, so.
If I understood right, were we talking about phone or phones at the armory previously? How many
Correct, we have-
phones are over there now?
Just the one that we pay for, and that would be that emergency line that's supposed to be in there. We don't
There's
pay.
one like in the kitchen and then one hanging out on the wall.
They have to pay for those individually, the leaser.
Daycare does, yep.
We just pay for the one line that's supposed to be there for when we have snow emergencies or disasters where people are staying there.
Okay. Out in the new addition, is it really necessary, or who pays for the lights out there right now? The city?
The city is, yes.
Is it necessary to have 32 street lights burning out there every night? Can't that be cut down to a couple avenues or a couple streets, or is it, I'm just asking, and this came from a neighbor of Mr. Crescent's. he asked me to ask, how come we're running all the lights out there and we got some in town that aren't working, which we always do have some in town that aren't working, but that's just old lights. But can somebody answer? Can we flip a switch and cut off half the lights out there? Or charge it to the people that owns the land out there, the guy that's selling it for to make a profit?
We can look into that, but,
Is that a question or?
no, it's not.
Not at all.
I don't know the answer, so I'd have to look and
I
check.
didn't know it either, because the guy asked me to come up here and speak, and I told him to come up here, and he said, no, I'm on oxygen, I can't even hardly talk, so I don't want to come up here. But I would like an answer to it, because it just drive out there. It's lit up, you know, like a darn ball field, which is good. It's great if we had 42 houses out there,
Right.
or if we had 22 houses out there. But what do the commissioners think? Am I wrong here? Is this guy looking, you know, we were talking about probably raising an electrical bill. Well, if there's 31 lights burning out there and there's one family there so far, it don't seem practical.
I agree with you. If there's a way that they could probably kill some of them lights,
Thanks for looking into it, because I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, I'll even take it farther than that. When this project was started out there, what was the agreement, what's the city supposed to take care of? Because they got all the landscaping done out there and grass and everything put in. Who's going to be responsible for taking care of that next spring?
The guy that owns the property, I would imagine.
Well, that's what I meant, I don't know.
And who's
So you could argue the guy that owns the property should be paying the electric bill. Right, you know, so, mhm.
I realize the city is moving snow out there at the city's cost, which we gotta have streets open, I understand that, but that's in and out and taken care of, but, electricity is one thing that's gonna be, it costs a little money, I know everything's efficient nowadays, but, you start mowing grass out there and having, a couple city employees out there 2 days a week, every week in the summer, whoever owns that land better step forward.
JR, if I remember right, we haven't seen a land transfer title for those land properties yet.
I haven't seen anything.
Okay, that's what I had thought, so. Okay,
Can I ask who owns the land?
it's still, I believe it's under Pat Mueller.
Oh, Nate Lowry or whatever?
No, I believe it was, the last time I looked, it was under Pat Mueller still.
I haven't seen any transfer of anything, of any land, so.
Who owns the land?
Pat Mueller.
Pat Mueller? Oh. To say a little more what Chuck's talking about, I went out there after he told me, you know, look at the lights. It is, I mean, that's gotta be costly. I don't know, is it costly, Jim, do you know, to run all them lights?
I can figure out how many watts they use, and I can do the calculation. I don't think it's a lot, but, and I think you should talk to the one resident that's out there and get his feelings on that. And they're paying specials, they're paying utilities also, is it, and whether we could shut one section off or one path to his house, I don't know, I could check into that.
Well, there's nothing wrong with having a couple streets and a couple avenues lit up, but
Yeah.
to me,
In the winter hours, I know they're working, does the other contractor work into the dark where you would, you know, is it right for us to shut the lights off so they can't work in the dark? I mean, once summer hits, you have plenty of daylight, but it's something we could check into, I guess, if it's that big of a concern, so.
the question was asked, and I'd like an answer.
Yep.
And are they putting a pond in out there yet? Is that still in the plans?
That's second phase, I think.
Uh,
I think that's phase 2.
Two.
Is there anybody, I've thought about this many times, and I'm sure most of the commissioners have, who's gonna take care of that? And, I mean, it's all gonna come to a head here pretty soon. And who's gonna take care of all the mowing and the bike path and all that stuff that's going in?
JR,
Is it the park board, is it the city?
weren't they talking, and maybe I'm wrong because I came in the middle of all that, but weren't they talking about doing some sort of an association out there at like, once they get going?
All to be determined. That's the easiest way to say is it's not there yet, and,
Right.
it hasn't been decided yet how they'll do that. Basically, when they plan it, we'll determine what becomes of it. If it becomes parkland that the city takes care of, if they reserve it in their own association or setup, that's all to be determined.
As of right now, it states that any land would be turned over to the city,
Mhm.
but they haven't turned anything over yet as far as parkland.
I would assume the pond would come into discussion when the second,
When the
if and
second,
when the second phase starts.
Mhm.
because right now there's only 3 properties, if I remember right, 3 or 4 that were dedicated as parkland.
I think so. That sounds,
Is it
On the
something
rough.
the park board would probably be taking care of, or what?
The way that the agreement was written, it was the city, but, we could look at turning it over to the park board, but we'd have to have discussions with them.
What agreement are you talking about?
The developers agreement.
Developers agreement?
And those hours could be documented, and if there's needs some type of compensation, whether they do it or we do it, that there's reimbursement if that's the way that it goes.
Currently, and correct me if I'm wrong, JR, it says that the city has right to go back against the bond for anything that we have assessed or used against it.
that sounds correct, yes.
And that's where those transfers we made were to pay off those things that we had already did. And one of the conversations that we'll have to have with the developers is that they went over budget. What it looks like is right around 100,000 at this point.
Mhm.
So we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, because that's on them. They have to
Correct.
either convince us to sell more bonds, or they have to come up with it out of pocket, is my understanding.
In the rough of it, yes.
Yes. Yes, Rick?
I just got one other question. They were talking at one time that we had 6 houses that were going up. Well, there's one that people are living in, another one being built, but what's happening out there? Is there anything sold? Is there gonna be more coming up this year, or?
What I was,
Because it's all gonna get costly for the city eventually.
when I looked yesterday or earlier, later last week, there was 4 properties that were sold. The one that is being built on the backside, there's 2 lots that were being built on for the house that's being lived on. The property for the apartments over on the Anchor side, and then the 3-4 lot commercial that we rezoned for that apartment complex there.
I heard Jordan pulled out of that.
As far as I've seen, it's marked and sold on there.
Well, and I think the brewery, last I had talked to someone in connection with the brewery Terry still had those, or him and his partners, or whoever still have those 2 lots. It sounded like it was sold, but maybe I'm wrong.
When I looked, that's all that it said was sold.
Yeah, I don't know if they update their website very well.
That's all I can go by.
Wasn't there supposed to be 2 or 3 businesses that were gonna build out there too? What happened to that?
Probably cool. Inflation,
A lot of things.
we could probably say that.
The other things that we need to think about, we don't need to discuss tonight, pertaining to there and others, is one, do we need to look at a charge for electrical hookups? Based on wire was generally costing us a couple dollars a foot, now we're at $15 a foot to hook up electrical, so it could be $45,000 to $5,000 city cost for electrical from the from the transformer to the home. Where's that cost going to come in? The other thing that didn't get looked at before is the king and sewer, if we're assessing based on that decision, or on those properties for use of that sewer, because the lift station that is there, correct, Jim, dumps into the Kingman sewer lift station and then is pumped out, so they are using it. I do have some of those numbers figured out, but we need to decide how and what way we're going to do that. So that is, like I said, not something we have to decide on tonight, but please keep those things in the back of your mind as we move forward and working on things. Is there anything else for the good of the order? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Moved by Dave, seconded by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.